welcome to my channel. My name is Amy. I'm glad you spared time. We are in this channel we talk about parenting and motherhood specifically, especially with regard to raising children from the time when they are conceived to the time when they can be on their own and even go to school and more things. So welcome. If you're new, please consider subscribing. In this episode, we'll be talking about the fourth month of life. As you know by now, my daughter just turned 4 months. My daughter is at 4 months, and the things I've observed her do, I just thought to share with you what probably you should be expecting of your child when they turn 4 months, or at least thereabout. So we are glad. I am glad for one because it's not easy to get your child from 0 to 4 months of age. I'll be shooting this every time. We're just going to talk about developmental stage basically. So at 4 months of age, right now your child is no longer referred to as a newborn. Oh, I know the feeling you have when you have a newborn. People are visiting, people are calling, how is baby? People are saying all sorts of things. That kind of reduces when they turn 4 months. That kind of reduces, and they're not the little tiny baby that was lovely. You could toss around, you could carry, you could almost do everything for. At 4 months, they have started knowing what they like, what they dislike. If you do, maybe you have introduced toys to them, they already know what is theirs. if you've introduced if you started playing games, they already know their favorite games. You stop playing the game they were loving and enjoying, they can now cry. So basically, they are no longer a newborn. And as a mama, you have time. You now have time. Those who are going back to work by now, I'm sure you've gone back to work. 4 months of life, you have time to start thinking about yourself. Your self care. You can now start doing the things you enjoy. You're not as tired as you were. You're not as yes, you can now start thinking about your weight. Now you can start dieting. For some people, you can start visiting the gym. Probably you can start looking at your nutrition with a keen eye, because probably before that you are eating what is available, of course, keeping in mind foods that will increase breast milk supply if you are breastfeeding. But you are not really of concern, especially you are not really careful about what you are eating, especially if you're alone, no one to take care of you, most likely. Or you're the one taking care of people. But at 4 months, there is some time in your hands. Although baby has become very active, but at least there's some time you can think about nutrition, because even if you wanted to go get something from the grocery, you can get baby prepared and you all go together. So this is the time when mama can think about herself. Or basically, just because baby has grown and you can comfortably leave them with someone else, at least you can think about your own facial scrub, your own. And Super Mama Amy will be showing you affordable facial scrub here. So sit tight, subscribe if you have not, because that is coming up shortly. um uh, so mama has some time. You can now start thinking about pedicure if it didn't cross your mind through the first 3 months, and things like that. So what is happening to baby? What should you be expecting that is happening to baby to show if they are growing normally? Okay. And remember, these are things I've just observed from my child. If anything is not happening to your child, children are different. But at least there's some things they should be doing by this time. If it's not that way, please consult your doctor. All right. So, number one, I realized that my child started using her senses. Her sense of touch is functional. When you touch her and you're tickling her and stuff like that, at least she responds to me. Her nerves are alert, her nerves are working, which is good news. And you can also try that with your child just to see if they're working. I think it's one way you can test whether your child has the sense of touch at home. So, yeah, the sense of touch, the sense of smell, I don't know. But when you pass something that smells nice, like bananas, which are very tasty and sweet from this side of Africa, they have smell. You see the way she responds to when you put that banana close to her nose. Of course, she's not gonna taste because we're doing exclusive breastfeeding. Yes, 4 months we're still doing exclusive breastfeeding. But when you just pass the banana close to her mouth, you see the way she reacts and responds, and she wants to grab it. She smelled. And then her eyes, of course, by now there's a video on how to test, how to know if your child can see at home, which will be coming up shortly. Make sure you watch it. I'll share more details there. But basically, right now I can see my child has senses. She has the sense of sight. She can hear, she can feel my touch, and she can smell. About taste, I'm not sure because the only taste she knows is milk. And I know she enjoys, so maybe she has both senses. That's one thing I've seen. Maybe you could, by this time, at least your child should be able to show whether they can see, whether they can hear, whether they can feel, things like that. And there are videos here, so watch them to see what I'm talking about. Okay? Another thing I realized my baby has started communicating to me. Not the communication with cry, not that one. Watch my video on baby cry and what it means and stuff like that to know. All these videos I'm talking about, their links are in the description box, so make sure you watch. I'm not talking about that kind of communication, but at least they are making use of their sound, their voices. Baby has started laughing, genuine laughter. When you tickle them, they laugh. When you make faces, my baby laughs. When something like that. Baby has makes some cooing sounds. We call it in this house storytelling. My baby is telling stories. He's talking to me and telling me stories. At least you can almost be in a conversation. When you make a sound, you hear them respond. Baby is laughing, baby is making cooing sounds, baby is changes their voice when maybe I come into the room and they were making cooing sounds, they keep quiet. At least they have some sense of communication. So maybe well, you can check your child and see, does your baby laugh when maybe you make faces, or does your baby make some cooing sounds? At least this should be there by this time. Cooing sounds is they're not crying. Yes, they're not crying. I know you know what I'm talking about. Are they at least when you appear in the room, do they stop making noise? Or if they were, or do they, when you say something, when you talk, do you hear your child silence like mama's voice? Or do they respond something like that? And this should take the cooing sound, should take the, mostly it's the vowel. You hear ooh, or or a all the time. One vowel or something like that. At least baby should be making some sound by this time. The next one is I realized some change with her physical body. At least this time I can put my baby on tummy time for 2 minutes or three or even five or even 20, by the way. And it's not as painful as it was. So basically they say 5 minutes maybe. You can try say five minutes, or anything between 3 minutes and 5 minutes is okay. For tummy time. Watch my video on tummy time discussed to know the details of that, what I'm talking about. But at least physically for that, it's not as painful for my child as it was. She can stay in that position without crying for long, for 10 minutes straight without crying. And when she puts it this 10 minutes, she's lifting her head at least she's lifting her head without crying. She turns her head left, right when you move. Watch my video on tummy time to know how to make that interesting for your child. When I move things towards the left, she turns her head comfortably 90 degrees, comfortably. She even wants to turn this other side. Of course, she's rolling. My girl is rolling. Oh, I wish I could show you these things in this video, but I'm still working on it. I will improve. Please keep supporting me. I will improve. Okay. She's rolling not 360, but at least she can roll 180 degrees over. So and during tummy time, when she puts her head down, it doesn't fall. Yeah, it should not fall. At 4 months of age, it shouldn't fall. She puts her head down carefully. Watch your child. I'm talking about my child, but watch your child as well. At least tummy time should not be painful for baby at this time, and she should be able to turn her head, at least turn her head 90 degrees or about. When she's tired of lifting her head and she wants to put the head down, it should be put slowly, not dropping. Okay? I know you get what I'm saying. That is with regard to tummy time. And another thing again about physical body, we've just started training to sit. Watch my video on teaching your child how to sit or something like that. All these videos, their links will be in the description box. I realized that my child has head control. At least it's not wobbly and shaking. She has head control. Watch your child. By this time, we should be having some head control. And then she, when you put her on her back, at least she brings her hands together like this, and she can grab her hands and put in the mouth, things like that. At least baby should be putting her hands together, or she's mesmerized by her hand when she sees that beautiful thing. When you see your child looking at her hand and wondering, and the child, baby, yeah, so at least baby should be putting their, bring their hand together like this. Yes, when they're lying on their back, something like that at least. And then when you place a toy in front of them, they should be able to grab it, stretch their hand to reach it out. Yeah, at least that I can see with my girl as well. Stretch their hand to, and this is not always, at least once. If you do that 3 times, at least once your child should, if I think if they're being developing right. But again, you as the mama, all children do not need to do these things at the same time, but if anything is of concern to you, please consult your doctor. If you didn't know whether your child can stretch out towards a toy, try it. Introduce a toy to them. If you have not, introduce a toy to them. At least see how they behave with the toy. Yeah, you could even support the child and say words like, baby, touch, touch, and you help them. Show them. Probably you've not done this before, so you don't know, and you've not introduced the toy yet, and you don't know whether they will touch. Of course, they don't know whether touching is stretching the hand and reaching out. Just put the toy there and support your child to reach it and tell them touch. And when they do it, you say, good girl or good boy. And then try that 2 3 times, and then finally just put the toy in front of them and see how they behave. Bright colored toys, I'm talking about bright colored toys, or shakers, or something that would attract their attention. Or you could just get a black piece of paper or white piece of paper and just see, or anything, or even a red cup like the one I have, a red cup, and just see. You could introduce 2 3 times to support them. Touch 4 times. The fifth time, you just put it there and say touch, or you just put it there and see how they behave with it. Okay? If they're non-responsive after you have supported them, consult doctor. Another thing which I've noticed with my child is things I think I problem solving skills. Now you might wonder, what is a child, a 4-month-old solving? Yes, problem solving skills. You know, when you introduce a toy to them and they grab it and they're putting it in the mouth, or they were mesmerized by their hand and finally putting it in the mouth, the child is just trying to interact with that toy or that item or something like that. And how best, the only thing they know is food, which comes from either bottle or breast by this time. So I'm just, the child, I'm thinking in the mind of the child, I'm just trying to understand this toy better. Is it eatable? Something, is it palatable? Something like that. Is it edible? Yes, is it edible, or their way of trying to understand the object, whatever it is putting it in their mouth. So, is baby putting a toy in their mouth once they grab it? Or are they putting their hands at least in the mouth? You should watch this. At least by 4 months, that's how they're interacting with the object. That's how they're trying to understand the object. So it's called problem solving skills for the child have started coming in. If baby is not doing this, try observing, try, like I've said, talking to them and showing them, see, or their bottle, see, something like that, and just see how they will interact. If they do not respond, doctor, please run to the doctor, or at least call doctor. Are we together? Yeah. Together with that, maybe also when you're feeding them, have they started grabbing the bottle or putting both hands on the breast or something like this is mine. This is mine. You get it? You get it, parents? This is mine. At least they should be holding the breast now. Now it's not just baby feeding and not holding. Is baby trying to grab the bottle? This is mine when you put it in their mouth or something like that. Yeah, so basically that's it for 4 months of life. Things you can look out for in your baby. My child is doing all of those things. I am grateful. Is doing all of those things. It takes commitment. It takes commitment. It doesn't come easy. But basically, that's it for 4 months of life. If your child is not doing any of those things, try talking to them, involving them, indulging them, introducing a toy. It doesn't need to be a very fancy toy. A red cap would do. Oh. Or shakers or rattles or things like that. Of course, by this time, in 3 months of life, I said they're drooling and pouring saliva out. So that still continues. If they're having reflux, that still continues. Probably you don't reduce the amount of food your child is eating. If you have, yeah, things like that. I'm talking about breast milk or formula. I'm not talking about food. You don't reduce the amount of things like that. If anything worries you, please consult Dr. Haba. That is it from my own experience, 4 months of life. Bye. See you in the next one.